So we actually have here a pre-publication note. As the aforementioned pamphlets have been distributed among all the Anash mentioned above by means of numerous transcriptions at the hands of sundry and diverse copyists, right? So now the Alter Rebbe here himself is addressing the issue of why he's publishing it and what's been happening of, his manuscripts are being manipulated, and therefore he needs to really take into care the authenticity of the Tanya by printing it. The multitude of transcriptions have given rise to an exceedingly great number of textual errors. The Alter Rebbe is such a peaceful person. The line of Tehillim that he was actually saying when he was let out of Tsarist Russian prison was Padi v'shalom nafshi. Padi v'shalom nafshi. My soul is redeemed in peace. And the idea here is that Alter Rebbe is such a peaceful person. He learns, and it's so amazing, every single year the Yotes Kislev falls out around the parshas where we learn about Yosef. Because just like Yosef did not go and punish his brothers for the way they'd harmed him, the Alter Rebbe told his Chassidim at the time, do not go punish the people who, made the lies that put the Alter Rebbe into prison. Because the reasoning that I think the Alter Rebbe is coming from is mostly if you wrestle with someone who's muddy, you're going to get muddy. If the Alter Rebbe is going to start calling out people who are on purpose manipulating his hard-worked manuscripts to make Tanya seem something that's discredited, he doesn't even want to go to that level and start messing with that. He's so beyond that. So instead he just says, there's been copy errors. These were not copy errors by accident. These were happening on purpose. Alter Rebbe was being targeted. And yet he refuses to remain the victim in that way. He says, he takes action and is going to print the Tanya himself properly, but he doesn't go down to that level to attack them back. Here the Alter Rebbe is expressing gratitude for the publishers. Therefore, the spirit of the noble men, Rabbi Shalom Shachna and Rabbi Horowitz, mentioned on the previous page, has generously moved them to make a personal and financial effort to have these pamphlets published. Cleared of all dross and copyist errors and thoroughly checked, I congratulate them on their worthy deed. So acknowledging the publishers acknowledging that this is the clear, true version of Tanya. By the way, if someone wants to mess with something, it shows that there's something worth messing with. The fact that the Tanya had so much opposition, it shows what a high and holy thing it was and what a spiritual rebel the Alter Rebbe was. He was being a spiritual rebel because he knew that we needed these teachings. And so he shook both heaven and earth, going against both heaven standards and earth standards and bringing out the Tanya. And ultimately, it wasn't until Yotes Kislev, when the Alter Rebbe was let free from jail, that he really felt that the Kitruk had been lifted. Meaning, yes, there was people messing with the Tanya on a physical level, but he felt that the source of them was coming spiritually, that spiritually didn't yet have permission to spread these teachings widespread. And after his release from prison, that was the permission that, yes, we are going to need the Tanya in order to bring Mashiach. And so we need these teachings. So I feel like the Alter Rebbe doesn't feel like he needs to go and start making jabs at people who tried to discredit his Tanya by making copy errors, because he already dealt with it spiritually. Spiritually, he is good to go with the Tanya. And so he's just taking facts, taking the practical steps, publishing it properly, and he doesn't even need to deal with the physical realms because he already dealt with the spiritual source. So here's the Alter Rebbe's clear, crisp warning. As much as the verse states explicitly, cursed may be he who encroaches on his fellow's border, and where the expression cursed is used, it implies both damnation and excommunication. Don't mess. God preserve us, right? God forbid. I came therefore only to reinforce the words of Scripture, as Talmud cites, a mere practice in Judah, in order to reinforce an explicit scriptural statement, invoking a strict prohibition on all publishers against printing these pamphlets either themselves or through their agents without the permission of the above named for a period of 5 years from the date that the printing is completed. Meaning, as long as these original publishers are keeping the books in print, from 5 years after that original date, that is when there can be new publishers with that explicit permission. So I love the Alter Rebbe saying also, this doesn't need to be said. This isn't a new concept that you cannot go and destroy people's hard-earned work. He's just bringing the Torah sources to bring to the forefront of our minds how important it is that no one comes and messes with the Tanya. Once again, the fact that people even want to come and discredit it shows the Tanya's holiness. And there's an amazing story of a minion of scholars who gathered, who were misnagdim. They were against the Alter Rebbe spreading Tanya. And They gathered with a whole audience because they wanted to discredit the Tanya. They were going to like poke holes in it. And they sat there reading the entire first 18 chapters in silence with this deep sadness like growing more and more. And by the time they got to the 18th chapter, they all just broke out sobbing and announced to the audience that we're sorry. We didn't realize we were dealing with such a godly man with such pure intentions. And the Tanya is, they said, the Kodesh Kodoshim, the holies of holies. And just through reading the first 18 chapters, completely switched their view. So we see the way the Alter Rebbe won his war of spreading Chassidus, it wasn't through, making jabs. It was through his true authenticity of being himself and spreading Tanya that he brought those people over to seeing the value of Tanya. Here's a blessing. It may be pleasant for those who comply, and may they be blessed with good. These are the words of the compiler of the aforementioned Likutei Amarim. So normally, after you'd write, and this is my book, the Alter Rebbe doesn't do that. And it wasn't until the Alter Rebbe passed away, I think in the 8th edition of the publishing of the Tanya, that the 8th version, set of publishing of the Tanya, that his name was finally printed, that his sons put his name in. Because the Alter Rebbe didn't even put his name, okay? We're talking about such levels of humility. In this generation, though, that don't have false humility. Like Alter Rebbe was saying, there's a time for humility, and there's a time to realize that it's false humility. But here, the Alter Rebbe was in his right, in his humility, and he just signed it, Likutei Amarim. Thank you for taking the time to learn today's Tanya today. So there's an idea that every day we should take 2 ideas from Tanya. So I'm taking 2 ideas for myself. One is the idea of not living with false humility. Know Aleph, teach Aleph. And the other idea is that even when something's clear, right? Of course you shouldn't go mess with someone's book and their publishing. Bringing Torah sources always strengthens us. So you can take your own 2 points for you to carry with you for the rest of your day.